Hi everyone, I thought I would make a quick video showing the exercise that I give my students to teach them the modes of the major scale. So what I mean by the modes of the major scale, if we think of a major scale, say a C major scale here starting on C, which has a, we could sing a C underneath because that's clearly sort of our comfortable root for this scale. Now the thing is, I could have any of those other pitches of the C major scale as the note that underlies it. Now often the way that we show that is we simply start playing the scale on those notes and we go up to that note higher up and come back down. So for example, I could start it on the second note of the C major scale, the D. And as you can hear, that's got a very different quality, even though it is just the C major scale, but starting only on the second note. We call that D Dorian, and that is a modal scale. If we keep going up, we then have E Phrygian, and then starting on the F of the major scale, that would give us the sound of F Lydian. Get that right. And then if we start on the fifth note, the G, we have G Mixolydian. And then we have A Aeolian, which is also the A natural minor scale. And then B Locrian, where we're starting on the 7th degree, so starting on the B, but still it's the pitch of the major scale, the C major scale here. Now the thing is, of course, technically, so long as I'm singing that pitch underneath and calling that home consistently, whatever pitch I sing, I can just play the C major scale up and down anywhere, and it's going to retain that quality. So for example, if I played a C major scale and I kept singing the E underneath, so long as I insinuate that E is home, E is sort of the underlying modal centre, it's always going to have that quality of E Phrygian. Okay, so that's a way to think about modal scales, but how can we learn them and how can we fit them together? Well, they flow together in quite a nice order that is quite a nice exercise for anyone who wants to familiarise themselves with the difference between these scales, but also if you just want a warm-up, this is quite a nice one. So if we start with the modal scale, which is the brightest in terms of having a sharp in it, where all the others are flat in relation to the major scale. So if we start with our C major, which is technically called the C Ionian mode, we could sharpen the fourth of that scale. That's what we call C Lydian. Now the thing is, we're really playing the pitches of G major, right? But ultimately what we're doing there, the way we're thinking, because C is our root, we hear this as Lydian, that very bright quality. We can then flatten that fourth degree. C major. We can then flatten the seventh of that C major scale, and this gives us C Mixolydian. This is really the pitches of F major, but again we're treating C as our underlying modal centre, so this is going to sound still like a version of C, but it's got a flat seventh note. That's often associated with rock music mainly. Right? If we then go further, the next logical pitch that we can flatten to give us another mode of the major scale would be flattening the third. This gives the scale a minor quality now, and this is what we would call C Dorian. So it's like C Mixolydian, but it's also got a flattened third, so it's got a flat third and a flat seven in relation to C major. You often hear that as a sort of cliche in if there's like a medieval scene in a film. That's often the film music, that modal scale. So in relation to the major that's got the flat third and the flat seven, the guitar players among you will have noticed very definitely that I've changed position there from where I was before. I've skipped across. That's just easier for me, but you could equally play it over here or even with the open strings like that. Okay. The next mode, we're going to flatten the sixth of that Dorian. So now we've got what we call C Aeolian, C natural minor. Do. Very nice, that might be familiar to you already. Then I'm going to flatten the second degree of the scale. So at this stage we've got a flat 3, a flat 6, a flat 7, and now an additional flat 2. This is C Phrygian. Do. This is often strongly associated with flamenco music, music of the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Finally, we can flatten the fifth degree of the scale, and this gives us C Locrian or Locrian, some people pronounce it. This scale is the only scale that has a flat fifth, and therefore is fundamentally, it's based around a diminished triad or a diminished sound rather than a major sound, minor sound, diminished sound. Alright, so it's a bit spookier. So it sounds like this. That does not occur in many styles of music. It's most strongly associated with metal, but even there you have to go looking for it. So what we've got there is all of those scales starting with the Lydian and dropping a pitch every time to give us a different modal scale rooted on the same fundamental pitch of C. So I could put those all together in a row. I could go do, start with the Lydians, do, nice and bright. Down to the major by flattening the fourth of the Lydian, do. Flattening the seventh for mixed Lydian, do. Flattening the third for Dorian, do. Flattening the sixth for Aeolian, we also call it natural minor, do. Flattening the second for Phrygian, do. Flattening the fifth for Locrian, do. Now the exercise doesn't actually have to end there, because the interesting thing is if we take that Locrian and we flatten the root, what we get is the Lydian rooted on the tone below. So listen to this. So here's our Locrian. Do. Then on the tone below the B. Oh, there we go. So all I've changed there is the bottom note, which was C, is now that, and when I go up to the octave, I've lowered that as well. So Locrian, do. Lydian, do. But now rooted on the B. So a very good exercise for guitar players. It's a nice warm-up. For other instrumentalists, it's a really nice way to find your way around your instrument, to make these slight alterations every time and move your way through all the modes. Would be to start with the brightest and work your way down. So you can do this as a bit of a shredding exercise if you want, really. So do. And then do. And so on. And you can keep going, obviously, and keep making those alterations, flattening, 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 and moving down. It's a really nice warm-up, it's a really nice exercise for sort of teaching the different sounds of those modal scales and just getting used to the implications of flattening a pitch against the major scale, or indeed, in the case of a Lydian, of sharpening that fourth and just getting a feel for how it sounds. But the key is to make sure that you keep that root in mind, and I think that for those of you who are confident enough vocalists, singing along to your playing is a really good way of just making sure that your mind sort of like stays on that idea of that pitch as your modal centre and the thing that all of these pitches are relating to, have a relationship to. I hope you find that helpful. Thanks for watching.